So welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live show on Monday morning in the UK, and I was playing yesterday with my Mythomorphia. So there's a part one, and this is part two, and I think part two is going to be maybe a good hour because there's a lot of things to find, and I want to find all the flames. And the Kirby Roseannes, they're wonderful, but you sometimes just have to have a bit of a concentration and a bit of a think about what's about. So I think once I get these flames out, I can then sort out the sea, and then some other little creatures are going to pop up. So we've got flowers, decks of cards, bracelets, fans. Now the fans could be, in actual fact, his wings. I'm not quite sure whether they're supposed to be his dragon wings. I can't work it out, but I think they're just kind of Chinese fans. We've done the lanterns, but his tail is one mass of flames. So if I get a lot of flames out, I won't get them all because there's always some hidden here. I'm not sure if that's sea or if it's flame. So I'll probably do as many as I can. And then I'm going to do, I think we're going to do a green dragon with a red belly. And then once we've got the dragon done, then all these other flames will pop out. So I work that way. I do easy things first with the Kirby Roseanne. I love them, but I do the lanterns, things that I'm familiar with, I pick out. So I did the claws, I found the cup, so I coloured the cup, and then I'm going to say do all the flames. The ones that are attached to him, I find that easy. So if they're physically attached to him, and they're coming out of him, then they will be a flame. But anything that I'm not quite sure of, I'm going to leave because I'd rather leave it. And at the end, you might think, oh, actually, that's not a flame. That's sea, or that's something else. And I'm sure once I get down here to the tail, that will sort out quite a lot of this as well. Because we have fish, so in theory, these are not flames. In fact, that looks like a mountain range, and this is sea because we have a fish there, and I think there's another fish somewhere else. So again, it's a good idea to have a bit of a nosy and pick out things that are easy, and then your colour book will grow. But I say I'm a bit of a chicken. I pick out things that I can see and that are the easiest to do. So I've got my little piece of paper with my colours on. I've got my gouache, and because this is going to be turning into my gouache, and they only had two left online at the range, so I bought the other one because my daughter said she would use it, especially in her final year. She's got 2 years to do, so she will use the other section because I was a bit worried about cutting these into four. So I can get three out of one, and I can cut the other one, and then I can give this to my daughter, and I can keep the palette that I use for the giveaway of the paints. So I'm quite happy about that because I was just a bit concerned that they would be a bit thin and think that was a bit mean. So I bought the other one, and as at £29.99, I thought that was a really good price for 45 watercolours. They're only Cotman, but they're still very good quality. And because this is going to turn into my gouache, I'm going to take the pans out, and obviously the colour pans are going to be cut. That's three and that's four. That's going to leave me with the pans, and I'm going to mix my gouache to match the colours, and so I'm going to have 45 gouache colours in my pans. So this is going to be my gouache, and it'll dry like this, but when I tip this up sometimes they fall out. So some of these are professional and some aren't, so I'll have a mixture, and I'm going to mix the colours. And then I've got this as a palette, and luckily this brush actually fits in, so my whole setup will be a lot better. So just at this moment, I'm just going to cover that up because I don't want to get it dirty. And when they're brand new, they pop out very easily if you want to cut them. And I'm going to cut them and put them in one of these little books here for. I did a giveaway and it was bothering me that this looked rather meek and meagre. And one of these turns into one of these after 3 years, and it's got lots of colours in it. It's my portable 21st century watercolour portable travel set. So I cut the pans about 2 or 3 millimetres and that's not a lot of colour, but it's tons of colour when you think, you know, it's about 3 millimeters thick. So I had this idea that if I could send this off to the ladies that won the giveaway, they would at least have 4 to 5 colours of wonderful pure colours to play with. So that's why I'm working over the top. So gouache is really, really good. It's like an opaque watercolour, and so if you water it down really well, it becomes almost like a marker. But of course we can't use markers in our colour books because they go through, but the gouache doesn't. But you need to really get it to be quite thin, and you need to work with just a damp brush, and that way your paintbrush turns into a marker and you get these lovely flat areas of colour, which I really like. And it reminds me of being a kid, you know, it's soft and the colour just pours out. But sorry, I rephrase that. The colour just oozes out like it was a felt pen. When we were kids, we had felt pens, and you just coloured in, and it makes it really easy being a soft brush if you've got pulley hands. So I quite like that. But gouache is not really for colour books. It's just I've kind of watered it down a bit to get this effect. So without enough, I shall. There is a part 1 that goes into a little bit more detail, so this is part 2. So welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live stream. Welcome to Bunny's Designs. And this is part 2 of Mythomorphia with my gouache, which is basically a watercolour with a white paste or a white kind of gum to it that's made it opaque, and that's why you get these flat colours. But watercolour is not really for colour books. It's just I quite like using it like that. I don't know what it does. I don't know if it's light fast. It's a colour book. I don't really go into a lot of detail about what I do. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. The art bars are wonderful, but on this page they'll be perfect. I've tried them in the Kirby Roseanne and they're fantastic. But when I tried them in my little Oz book the other day, you just need to do too much rubbing to manipulate the colour. Same with the Caran d'Ache. So they didn't work, but the gouache worked perfectly because you're just gliding over the page once. Some colour pages let you do that, and some, like the Kirby Roseanne, you can go over 2 or 3 times. But it's all to do with water and to do with how it reacts to water. So I'm just going to use this as a guide for my go and behave yourself. I think that's the best we're going to do. I think that might be okay. So can we read the pearl? So that's the pearl. I've covered it in sellotape because it split on me because it's so old. So I wrapped sellotape around it, so I've protected it. So it's the number 6 Art Master Pearl Series 11, and what that is like a little fat brush with a very nice twisty point to the end. And I don't know the name for it. If it was full of watercolour, if I touched it, the water would come out, but because it's a point, it doesn't do that. I don't think I have a water brush. So when you wet bigger brushes, the minute you touch this, it comes out because it's designed to be a watercolour. But the minute you touch this one, it doesn't. You've got to push down to get the water out. So actually that's quite nice for a colour book. It's not going to give you that whoosh of colour, of water. Same with the colour brushes, they give a wash. The one thing you mustn't use with gouache is a water brush, because if it gets under here it'll clog up and it'll ruin it. So try to use a brush if you can. And riggers, they would work, but riggers are too long, so they'll be kind of moving about quite a lot. And I actually want a flat colour, whereas when I use a rigger, I use the end. But this I want a lot of flat colour, and this is why it's fat here. It's going to release it slowly, but it's going to hold a lot more colour. So I'll find, and it dries fairly quickly, does this, so you have to keep working fairly fast. So there seems to be a bit of a flame going on here, all along here. So I'm going to work backwards, I think. Oh, am I going to work backwards? See, I think that might be a little bit of a flame there, but I'm not 100% sure. I think it is, because it's coming out of there. Yeah, so I'm going to do that a flame, I think. And that one's a flame, but I just can't get that one in shot. So we'll do all, unless we do his tail. I think we'll do his tail. We'll do his tail, because most of this will be then very boring, because it'll be the same thing. Hi Claudia, welcome to Bunny's Designs. I thought I'd have another play with this. If I pull that right over there, we've got room for all this, so we can see what I'm doing. So lots of fair damp water, and I'm using, I think it was this one. So I need to spray these because they've dried out, and it doesn't matter, but you wouldn't technically use these like this as professional watercolor gouache if we're using it on Bristol board or doing a on water board. The only way this works is because it's a colour book, and I'm just looking for my little spray bottle, which I seem to have put somewhere. So I've got a fantastic little spray, and it's from and I don't know if they make them anymore. Years ago you could get hand sanitizers in little tubes from the pound shop, and I used to get them because they'll go in the kids' pencil cases when they were at school, and it made sure that the hands were clean when they had the sandwiches. But actually it's a really, really good spray. It's very fine, and it's a really nice one, and I've seen them for £2 or £3. So I was quite impressed with my little makeshift one, and I can actually put it, if I'm very careful, and I use it with my face wipes, my clean dried face wipes. I've decided I'm not going to buy any baby wipes or not use them in my art anymore. I'm going to, every night when I get into bed, before I go to sleep, I use a simple, the Make Simple do an allergy-free face wipe. It's really soft. So I wipe my face and I put face cream on. And I do that every night, and in the morning, before I get up, I do it in the morning. I use the face wipe, and then I put face cream on. And then I have a pint pot of tea. Hubby brings me a tray of tea. So sometimes it's quite a few hours before I actually get up, and I think that refreshes me. But these don't have any makeup on, and of course I've either been asleep all night or I've just been in the bath and my face is clean, but I still do it because it just kind of refreshes the face, ready for the face cream. And I waste them, and I decided that I was going to use them for my art because they're almost clean, and all I'm going to do is, this is one that I've used, and they're very, very soft. They're slightly softer than baby wipes, so I thought they would be perfect for using in my art. So I'm going to recycle those. And then when they get too dirty, I'm going to use them for mixed media, and I'm going to put them in my art, my mixed media junk journal. So technically, I would think my DNA is going to be in my art. I would think so. But it's such a waste, and I'm going through baby wipes like I don't know what, so I like to save the planet. And so I decided, instead of using them for landfill, and they make fantastic textures as well. So, and that was a really nice, it's given a really nice fine spray, but I did spray it half a dozen times. just want another piece of paper, just to make sure it doesn't go through on anything. There we go. So we should be able to see everything. So now I have got a wet brush. When I touch, oopsie, you've got to be careful that everything you do touch now is going to be water. So now when I touch this, this is the little bit I'm using like a well. That's quite nice. Now normally with gouache you use it differently, but of course I'm using it for this. Now really I should wash this out, but I can't waste a lot of colour, so I'm going to try. Test that, think it's bright enough. I'm going to start with the end of his tail. So if you've got any questions, pop them in caps. Thanks for joining me this morning. I just wanted to get to do a part 2. I did a little bit of this yesterday. So I think I'm going to cover the whole tail in this yellow. And again, the good thing about the gouache is I can put something over the top. I do apologise. And that tiny twist of small here is allowing me to get to some tiny spaces, so I don't have to change brush sizes. I can go big to small, and again that's really quick and really nice, so quite enjoying playing like that. So it's a bit quiet today because one daughter is working and the other one is oh sorry, it's the binman, so we could have a bark alert. The second I press record, the bin men appear. Bless them. So if I put you on silent, you can just watch. Sorry about that, he's gone now. It's always easier. And apologies for my hand, but it's so much easier for me to just move over here than it is to move to the left. You always have to work what's comfortable for you, and sometimes that's not best for the camera. So there's quite a lot going on in this tail. Now white gouache will go over anything because you use white gouache in watercolour, although I was taught never to do that, but anything goes these days. But it was frowned upon with pure watercolourists not to use gouache, but this is the colour book, so if I don't know if this is snow or sea spray. So if I go like this brush is tending to bend, so I will go over my line. But if I turn the brush, if I turn it so that that point is always in the direction of my outline, and I don't have to follow that line quite as vigorously as I am, because I'm going to go over this with an orangey red. Now the only thing I've got to remember is I do want a very vibrant yellow, because it's going to have to stand up to this vibrant orange and red. So this is yellow, so I'm going to do all this tail, all the flames, work out what they are, and I've worked out that this is the tail. So this is the end of the tail, and then this will go to yellow. This will go to, I think this is the green bit. So it's going to go from yellow to green. So I can get away with doing that. So I could go right over the top of this. I don't have to think about it because I'm going to put the orange and the red in here a bit later. So you could go over the top, but I'm just being a bit more careful. And it's good practice. If you can practice any times you practice staying in your lines, it's always good practice. This is why I know this brush will go over if I bend it down. So I need to push this point, always work to push the point to the line, because if I did the bottom line here, I'll go over. So I need to turn that, so that point is always towards the line. And then I won't say I'll never go over, but you've got less chance to go over. So this feels like this feels just like a felt pen. The colour is just gliding on there really nicely. So I'm going to go down here because this again is another flame, but we've got to be a bit careful because eventually it's going to turn into sea, because Kirby Roseanne's a bit crafty like that, bless him. We love his colour books, but you just have to be on the ball until you get a good understanding of what's actually on there. So, and again, this is another flame coming out. But it's a wonderful book to play in, and it's not complicated. It's a bit like, I always say, it's a bit like making a Christmas pudding, a Christmas cake. It's not complicated, there's just lots of bits to it. You've got to remember all the bits. Well, this is very similar. This is like a great big cake mixture, and you've just got to take the bits apart. So you pick the easiest. I always pick the easiest bits. So this looks like it could be sea spray, but this is definitely a flame, so I'm going to do that one. I'm not sure about those two, so I will leave them. And then when I finish the composition in that corner, it'll appear to me to say, well, actually, I think actually that's sea spray on the rocks. So I'm not, it was a good job I didn't colour it in bright yellow. So that's how I look at these Kirby books and pages, and I absolutely love them. They are wonderful, but they're not difficult. You just have to pick off all the easy things. Now somebody else might do the dragon first and do the flames last. Somebody else might do the backgrounds first, or might do the back scenery, or might do the sea first. You have to learn, especially with a colour book like this, what's the easiest way for you. And it all depends on how your brain works. That's how I see it. Some people will look at it and go, well, that's a complicated thing to do. See, all this is now turning into tail. So I'm going to go back up here so I can finish this bit, because I'd managed to go down there and then you forget where you are. So we'll get all this tail connected. And again, there's clouds probably up there. There's other things. And it's only when you've got the majority of it down can you see what's going on. So I'm going to need some more of that orange. And because it's a pure colour, I can actually go in it. If it wasn't a pure colour, I couldn't do this. I couldn't go straight into there, but because it is, it's the only colour that I'm using pure, because I want that gorgeous, almost cadmium. I think that's a cadmium. No, just maybe a bit too. It's a bit too warm for a cad, so I think it's the tangerine one. Although I haven't made my mind up yet. It could be cad or cad yellow. So again, I've nearly got carried away then. So I'm only going to go to there, because this is now tail. This is a flame, because that's flames coming from here. And then this is another flame behind there. And again, this is how to work this book. So when you first look at it, you think, oh my goodness. But if you're really not sure, just have a look at it. Have a look. Have a look and think, decide. It's your colour book. Decide which bit you want to do. You might want to do it all flames. I think that's a flame behind there as well, and it will pop out. And I actually think there is another flame behind, so that's going to be a flame right at the top. And then in order to define this flame, I can make the one behind orange. There's always a way to knock something back so it goes in the background so that the flame in front can stand up. Now there seems to be quite a lot of things going on here, but I think these are sea splashes. And this is a yellow, but again I'm not sure, and that's a mountain. So this is definitely the end of the tail, but of course here we've got a flame attached to the tail, and here we have a flame attached to the body. So I'm going to follow the tail, and I'm going to ignore that because otherwise I will get confused. And it's a good idea to always twist your brush to a point. But as you say, it's just like having it's like a brush marker, but I've never played with a brush marker, but I imagine they would be like this. But of course we can't use a brush marker in a colour book, not with vivid colours like I have been doing with the bright reds, but we can do it with gouache. So I was quite impressed to kind of play about with this. So again, now we've suddenly found lots and lots and lots of other things because we've got rid of the yellow flames. And again, they're not going to stay yellow, they will be having their reds. And I would have nearly coloured that one in, but I think that one is actually, it could be a loose flame. I'll decide later. Again, this is what you have to do. You have to, if you're not sure, the best thing to do is to leave it. Because you can always go back in, and again, I'm not sure if that's a sea spray or if it's a flick of a flame. A spark of a flame. So if it's not attached to the dragon just at this moment, it's not being counted, and it's still fairly quick, and it's really nice to work. And again, at first you think, oh my goodness, this is going to take ages, but if you just pick off something nice, but you have to enjoy it. This is what colour books are. It's not a competition, it's not a race. You work in the medium that you like and you enjoy the process. Otherwise there's no point spending $9.99 on a book and spending months colouring it in. It's got to be something that you like to do. It's got to be colours that you like. I mean, you might look at this and go, ugh, I hate yellow flames. So play about with colour. If you're not sure about flames, Google flames and look at images on Google of flames. You might find purple flames if you like purples and pinks. To coin a phrase, you are the boss of your colour book. You decide what you like, because you're going to have to look at it and you're going to have to work in it. So it's got to be the colours you like. If you have a book that you don't particularly like mandalas, I find a little bit kind of monotonous, I practice colours in that one, because if I make a boo-boo, it doesn't matter because it's not precious. So I think there's some kind of flame down here. Sorry, my hand's in the light. But I think that could be a flame. But I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to leave it. I think that's a C. I think the curls are more C. Or maybe that is a flame. I think that is a flame, so I'm going to do that as a flame, I've decided. Because I think, again, composition-wise, that would look good. Because he has flames on both sides, not just on one. Oh, I don't know, does he? I'm not sure now. Maybe he only has flames on one side. And actually, I'm going to leave it, because looking at him, you see, again, I wouldn't have noticed that. He's only got flames on one side. So maybe that isn't Although, as I say, looking at it, a flicker of flame down here might look okay, but I'm going to leave that for the second. I think this one is attached. There is a strange one there. I think that one is definitely flame. There is a slight different curl. There's a slight different curl from his, but only very slight, because as I say, he's like that. Bless him. He likes to make us think and work hard. And that one could almost be a flame as well, actually, on his feet. Yeah, if you look at the feet, the claw, I think the flames are around the claws as well, so I have to think about that one. But I definitely think that's going to be one there, so I'm going to paint that yellow. I mean, because it's gouache, you can paint over the top. If this turns out to be C, I should be able to get a blue over the top, no problem. But I'm not doing the bright red. I'm doing the I'm not doing the bright red, just doing the yellow. And again, just by doing one faint colour is going to give me a big insight into how it's going to look. And then your artistic license can kick in if you're not happy. Just going to turn that round a little bit. My desk, as I say, should be better by next week when I get all organised. There is a little flame coming off his claw there. So again, just the tiniest bit. And when I've done this, I'll pan out. Now, I don't think there's any more flames on that claw, unless these are flames. But I have a funny feeling that those are C, and they look like flames, because that's on that side where the flames are, if that makes any sense. So we followed that round. Have a look. These are flames here, so we're going to follow these back round. So behind the fan, there's all sorts going on under there, but I'm definitely going to leave that for a minute. And I'm going to pick from here. So if I move that across a bit, I can move this. And I don't need this for reference, but I do need it to make sure that I don't spill, because it's a bright yellow, so chances are it might spill on something. So I do need a little bit more. And I'm putting this down fairly thick. Well, when I say fairly thick, it's very thin, but I'm putting it down its maximum before it gets too kind of thick. I'm not sure if that's a flame or not, but this is definitely a flame because it's coming out of the dragon. And again, I've got quite a lot on here, but if I push it about, I should just about get away with it. So it's a good idea, a photocopy paper to play with your first gouache. That would be a good idea. And you get used to the, I would say it's almost like milk. It's not like single cream, it's like milk is the consistency that you want. And then when you get it on a paintbrush, this particular paintbrush will release it almost like a marker, so we can actually go through all that and just do this bit there. So I went over the line because I used the back, and again here has got the flame. So I thought I'd do a little bit more than this, but I did start it yesterday because it's a bit monotonous, but once you've seen the technique and how it works, it'll be a bit like the scales when I do the scales on the body. That's going to be I mean, it's very enjoyable to do, and it's fairly, in colour book terms, it's fairly quick, but to watch it would be quite boring. I've missed that bit, and I've missed that bit there. All that's yellow. And the beauty of it is it dries very quick. That's just shows you just how dry or barely damp this is. It wouldn't work if you slapped it on, because your page would be wet. Your page would crinkle, and you wouldn't get that nice flat effect that you get with gouache. Again, we've got a curl here, so I think that's a flame. And I think these, see, again, I'm not sure about that, because it's the wrong curl. This is more like a sea swirl. This is a flame swirl. And so I'm going to leave that. I'm only going to do the bit that I'm definitely sure is. And it's not going to be difficult to come back and finish that. And when you've done this with the yellow, you'll look at it and you'll think, that's a highlight and that's a shadow. And you will already have a good indication of where the highlights and where the lowlights are going to be. And I need to try and get into there. Sorry about that, I'm still in my light. So we've always got difficulty when we get into these. You see, I think that one is definitely a flame. So I do have a Prussian blue in this gouache set, and I thought that would be quite nice. So some are professional and some are student grade. And oops. So we should have a nice quiet recording today. Although I am going to try and do some more editing. I'm just panicking about this live stream because I haven't painted for 5 years, so it's going to be a bit of a strain. So if we look at this, oh dear, excuse me, it's this horrible coffee. I do love coffee, but it's not like me. See the difference now. We've just by putting that highlight yellow on, we've got a bit more of insight into what's happening. So that's going to be quite a fat body that comes behind there then. So the flames twist, but they're all kind of together. They're not. There's an odd flame, but they're all kind of following him round like he's the top of his body. I think they're all on the top. So even though he's twisted, it's where he's twisted. The flames are still technically on his back, even though he's twisted round. I think that's the best way to describe it. So the chances are that all these on the opposite side are not flames. They are in fact sea. And again, it took a while for me to work that out. So I'm going to do his head. I'm going to do his head next, purely because again, that's going to sort out, and it'll make that a little bit easier for me to see. Again, do try to keep something. This is very dry, this, and clean. Otherwise, you will spoil your colour page. So I'm going to full lot of clean water into here. It's a little bit damp, is that well, but most of it's dried. So that's given me quite a lot. And then twist it out. I should really clean that brush, but tight Yorkshire lass, I can't do that. So I'm going to try. He's obviously got a face, it's the flames from the face, so I might work backwards. I might work backwards with that, so I'll zoom back in again so you can see that working, how that works. Could you make me a cup of tea, darling? Because that's just giving me such indigestion. Thank you. Um, so I think that could be a flame from here. And remember, this is only yellow. So again, there's quite a lot on there. I thought you were being a good boy, Alfie, under the desk. I think that could be a flame as well. And I think his head's going to be red, so perhaps his snout could be a different colour, but then we've got all these flames, yellow red flames, and his horns will be a different colour if I can remember not to paint them. But the wonderful thing about gouache is you can probably paint over the top because it's opaque, so I can put another colour over here and it's not really going to do anything, especially yellow. Um, Oops, sorry, I'm out of shot. So again, that could be a flame or it could be something else. That's his mouth. So these are flames. And inside a mouth is normally red, so that's going to lend itself to be quite nice. So I'm just going to do this bottom here and I'm going to leave that to be the orange. And then of course in the mouth can be, and then if you want you can also put, you know, more low lights, more shadows, more colour. It's just I like that three combination, which is from the poppies that I did. You know, it had a yellow, orange, and red, and next to each other on the colour wheel. So that's my rule of three. I think they're all flames. I think we're going to make him literally a flame dragon. I don't think we can do much else with him. I did like the fact that there was a highlight on there. And I would think I would make that a bright yellow as well. I might make that a white because you get white heat, and I haven't got any white heat. So, and it's a contrast to this yellow, so I've got to be very careful that I don't go over it. Thank you. If you want to ring up and book, that would be good. Right. So just for the moment, but as I say, while you're doing this, you are finding out that, oh, dark red in there would be good because it's going to make this highlight, this flame stick out. This yellow flame at the end is going to look better because it's going to have the dark red behind it. And again, you can find that out as you're playing about, like this one. This one's got to be really, really strong, bright yellow. And the one behind it here is going to be dark because it's going to make that yellow one stick out. So you can be a little bit freer down here because, again, we know what's going to happen a bit later. Now, the other things are not going to be as quick as this. It's just the fact that we're working out of a pure colour. We're not doing any colour mixing, so this is why this is a lot quicker. But when you get further along, at the lanterns, we mixed the colours. That took a little bit longer. But because this is just really using... Sorry, my hubby's gone to the car and Alfie knows the gate. We have to have a big farm gate for keep the monsters in. again, and the gouache I think behaves quite well. That if you go over, you can kind of make it better. Alfie, can you come here, please? Come on, come here. Good boy. Don't you grumble at me. No, completely ignored me. You completely ignored me. Now these little tiny things here, I'm never sure what they are. I don't know if they are flames. So again, I'm going to leave them. I think it'd look quite good because it would be like dripping. It would be like dripping flames. I think this is a flame here. I think this is a flame. So I'm going to have a quick look at my Google Dragon that I had a look at, because I'm not sure which green I want to do the belly now and which red, because obviously that red's got to be different to the flame red. I just think I've got one or two to finish just up here, just to finish this bit off. I think there's another one there, but again I think that's sea spray, and I'm not sure, so I'm going to leave it, but I'm pretty sure that this isn't. I think this is definitely, because his head wouldn't stop. I think that's I think that's sea spray actually, and I think that's a flame. I think that's a flame. That looks to be his head just about right. I actually think that might be a cloud. I think that could be a cloud, and I've painted that, so I'm going to leave that. I painted that one and I'm not sure now, so I'm going to leave it. But when we get the green here, that's going to look really nice. It's going to pop out. It doesn't at the moment, but it will do. So we've done the head. Oh, we haven't. Sorry, I haven't done the top of the head now, so I've got all this to do. But again, that's going to make everything kind of the difference now. You can see what's cloud. You can see there's cloud in there. There's sea spray in there. There's more flames. So it's if you can pick a pale colour and do this, it's quite good. Because otherwise, if you were picking bits off one at once, it's nice to get a certain thing sorted, and you can also see what you have to do as well, so that, that's a good thing. Now I can relax. Now I've got all this flame, I know exactly what it is. I can just go along and do each flame and leave the highlight orange yellow, put an orangey red in the middle, and then put a very dark pinky red as a shadow, and that's going to be a very pleasant colouring experience for a good couple of hours. I've just got this tail here, so instead of doing this, I'm going to follow it, because then I will not hopefully go over. And this teaches you nice proper brush, how to get nice tails, hairs, how to be in control of. I'm pretty sure that's a highlight. I don't think it's a cloud. I'm not quite sure what's going on up here. Again, I think some clouds, but I'm just going to follow this one across, and then that's going to guide me. That will guide me. So if this was your pencil, you could do all yellow. And again, that's a flame, because we know it's a flame because it comes out of this flame. So we know the next one's a flame. So we've got the horn, and we've got, that's the other bit of horn, I think. But of course now behind, that could be a cloud, so I'm not sure. So I'm going to leave it. I think that's the horn. I don't think... Oh, that's the horn behind it there, look. So that could be a flame then. No. that's the horn that goes up there. So the next thing I do up there is going to be the kind of the top of the head. Now I would think that is a flame, but it doesn't look like a flame. That looks like a flame, but it might be something else. That I think it is a flame. Pretty sure it is a flame. And I'm just going to do this here, because again I think there's going to be a really nice highlight and a shadow. And then he's got his tongue, which I'm going to do the most vivid pinky red I've got. I think I'm going to make that a flame. Yes, that's the tail of a flame, so it's definitely a flame. So it's going to be a flame. You see, you can make certain decisions, because that is the tail of his flame there. So that has to be a flame. It's just the way it was drawn. I like the fact that this snout could be a pale pink snout going to dark red, then going into the flames, and then we've got the horn coming out, which is going to be the same as his claws, I think. Green to brown, red to brown, fawn colour. Sorry, I do apologise about the monster. Don't know what it is about him, bless him. So that's been about 50 minutes. So actually that's not bad. So if I pan out, you can see, you know, we've coloured quite a lot. If I move this out of the way. In fact, I could move that one, and I can shut this one, and that's what I love about it, that it's wet, but I can shut it. It's not going to do anything, because there isn't anything to run. There's nothing there to run. It's almost dried. There's a tiny bit in the corner there, but that's not going to go anywhere. So I can move that over there. Oopsie. So what we've... Oh, for some reason my camera is just a bit shy of the... Oh, there we are. So we've got quite a lot, and it's all dried. Even that one I went over twice. All perfectly dry, all perfectly flat. And I never checked to see if the colour goes through, actually. There's if you hold it up to the light, because I have a window, you can see it. But if you push it down, there's absolutely nothing through there. And that is Elysian Crimson. Almost neat. So, you know, that's wonderful to get a marker kind of colour. To get a marker colour. Oops, sorry, excuse me, beg your pardon. Let me just read chat. Oh yes, Claudia. Claudia says she spent hours on the picture trying to pick things out, and ended up asking a 6-year-old. Yeah, 6-year-old would probably say, "Oh, look at that, that's there." But what that's done is it's really made it simpler. I mean, there probably is more flames, but I want to get I'll do the dragon next. I'm going to get the colours for the dragon. Once you've got the dragon, and then of course I need his claws and his feet. I'm going to do those next before I do his body, because I want them to kind of merge in. And it doesn't matter about putting the red in the flames. I know it's going to look wonderful. I mean, I've got all this. It's going to look so good all over there. The other thing, only here do I need to think about the colour of his body, because that's what's going to touch. I can't judge it over there, but I can over here. And of course these are going to melt in underneath. It's going to look quite good. I'm pretty sure I think that actually could be cloud. But once I've got the body done, we'll be able to see through it, and we'll have the sea at the bottom, and I'm sure we're going to have sky and cloud. But you can't tell that at the moment. But it's looking like that could be cloud, and then this could be sea spray, and then mountains. But I'm really pleased with that, because just doing that simple thing has made that so much easier to look at. Again, I think there might be a little bit of something there, but I actually think I like the fact, oh, that's definitely a flame because it's coming out. But I think I like the fact, because that's twisting around, that this will be seascape because it's here. The sea is definitely on this horizon line there. So that would be quite dramatic to see sea spraying up between there. So because it's coming up to an hour, but again, an hour to sort out all that intricacy, and get a really nice flat colour. So it's sorted out an awful lot, and it's fairly quick. But the pages are completely flat, and it looks like a marker. That looks flat. That looks like you've drawn it with a marker, coloured it in, and it felt like a marker, soft, easy and quick. And that's what gouache is. It's a flat watercolour, and it's amazing. And I'd forgotten just how wonderful it is. So thank you for watching, and I'll stop the video now because, as I say, putting the reds in, I've done it on this one, so you can, I'll probably leave the head, but I'll do the rest of it probably off camera, I think, and then I'm going to choose the colours for the, in fact I could do that now because my phone is right next to me, which it normally isn't. I'll do that very quickly, and that will take us up to the hour. I think an hour watching paint dry is enough. Has anybody got any questions? And I must drink my tea. If anybody's got any questions, pop them in caps. So I googled the dragon, and in theory it should remember exactly what I typed in, because it's quite clever like that. And I didn't want to do anybody's other artwork, but I don't mind copying, because it's made up anyway. So if it's from a book, but I didn't want a painting, if that made any sense. Have you ordered some gouache, Claudia? Wonderful. But I did say on the other one, you add a drop of, buy the white, not the permanent white because that's expensive, but that size in zinc white, which is kicking about somewhere, that's zinc white, and adding a little bit of that to your ordinary watercolours, all the colours, it will make them all opaque. And so you could play with your ordinary watercolours by buying just one tube of white zinc, and then you could see if you like them. Technically it isn't, oopsie, technically it isn't a gouache, but for playing about in colour books it'll be perfectly alright. And it saves you spending anything if you buy them and think, well, I don't like these. You've already had a play. So I've forgotten where, oh, this was my dragon. I think this was my dragon, but my internet's a bit slow. That's, oopsies, here it comes. Come on, Mr. Dragon. And I like the vibrancy, but I'm not sure if I want to do that now. I think the flames would kind of... Oh, hi May, welcome to Bonnie's Designs. I'm just coming to the end of this video because I wanted to show this what inspired me for my colours. Oops, but I think I'm going to change. I don't think I want that green. I don't think I want the green. In fact, mine do not look nothing like it. So it's good to look through and pick different greens. I might like an olive green actually. An olive green might look quite nice. And you could have a bare belly to make him kind of look realistic. I was looking at bearded dragons, and I thought they were quite nice as well. Um, Again, there's a red, and then there's the kind of the body. So I haven't decided on his body. I'll have a play and see what I like. So you see, we have a red one, but I can put flames over the top. So there's all sorts of ideas out there for this particular colour page. You just have to decide. You see, I like these colours. I might actually have a look at a bearded dragon. I do like those colours. I love the greens. But I'm going to have a play and see. But I'm definitely going to have a look at a bearded dragon, because I think that would be quite good. And I'm going to play with the scales. I don't want to lose the scales either. I might like to keep the scales to actually make them look like a scale, but that's going to take a long time. But I love this page. You know, if you want to make a good job of a page, you know, you're not going to do it in a couple of hours. You know, it's going to take a long time. But again, it's the process. You know, it's the process of doing it. This is why we do it. We do it because we like it. We're not doing it because somebody's making us do it. We're doing it because it's going to be a really nice thing to colour, and we're going to enjoy the process. Some pages you don't enjoy the process, and that's just basically for colour. That's fine. Some pages you might not like. Use that for practicing on colour and texture and things like that. But this particular page, I want to make a fairly decent job of it. So I took a long time to plan the flames, and I'm going to take a fairly long time to plan how I'm going to do the scales. So I'm going to call that one the end of part 2 of the dragon in Kirby Rosan's Mythomorphia in my gouache. Thank you for watching.